You think you already know what a plague doctor looked like: the long black coat, the wide-brimmed hat, the gloved hands gripping a wooden cane, and of course that mask, the one shaped like a bird's beak, with two round glass eyes staring out from a smooth leather face. It has become one of the most recognizable images in all of history. It shows up in horror films, in video games, at every Halloween party. A symbol of death itself. But almost everything you assume about that mask is wrong. Let's start with where it came from. The full plague doctor costume, the coat, hat, gloves, cane, and beak, is usually credited to a French physician named Charles de Lorme, who served as the chief doctor to King Louis XIII. He is said to have designed the outfit around the year 1619 as protective gear for physicians who had to walk directly into homes full of the dying. And that beak? It was not decoration. It was not meant to frighten anyone. The long curved nose was hollow, and doctors packed it full of things that smelled strong and sweet: dried flowers, crushed herbs, mint, camphor, sometimes a sponge soaked in vinegar. To understand why, you have to understand what these doctors believed was killing people. For centuries, European medicine was built on an idea called miasma theory. The belief was simple and completely wrong. Disease, they thought, traveled through the air itself, through bad air, foul air, corrupted air that rose from rotting matter, swamps, and unburied bodies. If sickness lived in bad smells, then the solution seemed obvious. Fill your mask with good smells, and you could filter the danger out before it ever reached your lungs. Now picture the scene the way someone in the 1600s would have seen it. A narrow cobblestone street, silent except for a single bell. A tall figure in black turns the corner, moving slowly, deliberately. He does not knock with his hand. He reaches out with a long wooden cane and taps the door, because he will not touch the sick with his fingers. He steps inside a house thick with the smell of illness, and behind that leather beak, packed with lavender and mint, he breathes in perfume instead of death. To the terrified people inside, he must have looked like a giant, silent bird, a messenger from somewhere between this world and the next. This is the image that has haunted us for 400 years. But here is where it gets strange. And stay with me, because what this mask accidentally got right is the part almost nobody tells you. When you picture the Black Death, the Great Plague that swept Europe in the 1300s and killed a staggering share of the population, you probably picture this exact beaked figure walking among the bodies. Except he was not there. The beak mask did not exist during the Black Death. It appears in the historical record roughly 300 years later. The most famous image of it, an engraving called Dr. Schnabel of Rome, was printed around 1656. You can still find versions of it preserved today in collections like the Wellcome Collection in London. The costume everyone links to medieval plague actually belongs to a much later era. The mask you imagine standing over the Black Death is, quite simply, in the wrong century. So the whole terrifying picture is a kind of historical mix-up. The doctors were wrong about the disease. The mask was based on a theory that does not hold up. And it arrived too late for the plague we always connect it to. And yet, this is the twist. The basic instinct behind it was not stupid at all. Because think about what that beak actually was. A barrier over the face. A chamber packed with filtering material. A physical layer between your lungs and the air around you. Strip away the wrong theory, and you are left with something that looks remarkably familiar. The plague doctor's beak was one of humanity's earliest attempts at a respirator. They had the reason completely backwards. Plague was never carried by bad smells. It is caused by a bacterium, Yersinia pestis, identified by the scientist Alexandre Yersin in 1894, and spread largely by fleas and rodents, not by odor in the air. So the perfume in the beak did nothing to stop it. But the deeper idea, that covering your face and filtering what you breathe might protect you, was, in a rough and clumsy way, pointing toward the truth. You already know the modern version of this idea. You lived through it. The fitted mask over your nose and mouth. The layer of material designed to filter the air before it reaches your lungs. The N95. When you pulled one on during a pandemic, you were reaching for the exact same instinct that French physician reached for in 1619. A barrier and a filter, standing between you and something invisible you were afraid to breathe in. The plague doctor got the science wrong, but the human impulse to put something between our breath and the danger turned out to be one of the oldest right answers we have. So the next time you see that beaked figure in a film or a costume shop and think, death, think again. You were never really looking at the plague at all. You were looking at one of the very first times a human being tried to figure out how to breathe safely and got closer to the answer than they ever knew.